Hi everyone, my name is Anne Walke from Walke Farm and I'm here with Kiera from Kiera Wellness and we're having a chat about the Discussing Motherhood event which is coming up on the 8th of November. So Discussing Motherhood is a holistic women's conference for mums and future mums to gather together, listen to some amazing guest speakers, one of them which is Kiera, be empowered and nourished with some delicious food and just have a wonderful day gathering with women. So Kiera, like I said, is one of our guest speakers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business as well?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Anne. Um, I'm so excited to be back at Discussing Motherhood this year. I attended last year and it was such an incredible event. The turnout was amazing. And of course, best food by Wealthy Farms.
Well, good
Um,
food.
I think I make that dish that you made like once a week now since then. So
Oh, so
definitely.
good. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my name's Kiera. I own Kiera Wellness, which I founded a few years ago, and I specialize in looking after women's and children's health from a natural perspective. So I work as a women's health coach and a nutritionist to really just educate the general population about how to be healthy in a modern environment, which sounds really funny, but when you understand that health is really reliant on I guess, natural input signals from our environment, and you start to understand that perhaps the way that we live our lives and the modern environment is perhaps one of the reasons why we find ourselves in such a big chronic health pandemic at the moment. You really do understand that sometimes, although supplements and modern medicine are fantastic for our health, we really do have to take preventative measures to support our health, which comes back to really just education.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, yeah, it's a bit of a rabbit hole sometimes. Where do you start with health and
Mhm.
yet in this modern toxic environment that we definitely are in. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating listening to what you're going to be bringing to the event. So, what are some of the topics that you'll be discussing?
Awesome. So I think last year we really focused on quite a variety of topics, just opening people's eyes to the fact that light pollution, radiation from devices, the foods that we're eating are all really important. And there's not really one, I think, that's more important than the other. They all go together to impact our health. This year, I really want to focus on, and I will be focusing on practical takeaways. So, what can you actually do, and what can you implement to into your life and your family's life to ensure that everyone's set up for success from a health perspective? Because I feel like my parents, were taught that to set your children up for success, you were thinking about finances, what school they're going to, all of these things. Um, Getting them the best education, but really, if they don't have their health, they really have nothing. So I'm going to be really focusing on the key developmental milestones for children's health and what parents, both mom and dad, can actually be doing during those periods to ensure their children are set up for success from a health perspective.
Amazing. I think it's one of those things we've sort of taken health for granted, haven't we? And yeah,
Mhm.
focused on money and education, but now there's this huge shift that so many people are dealing with health issues and they're like, what do I do about it? How do I fix it? Um, yeah, so
Mhm.
fascinating. And yeah, talking a little bit about women's health and sort of setting them up as well. What will you be discussing in that regards?
Mhm. So I think that from a women's health perspective, obviously prior to conception, women really need to be optimizing their health and not just their health from a nutrition standpoint or even a light environment standpoint, but and I mean, for personal reasons, I've really come to gain such a deep appreciation for the fact that nervous system support is so important. And sometimes we become so unaware of how we actually feel in our bodies that we can become quite disconnected and not even realize that we're actually running in such a state of flight or fight or a stress response, perhaps for 10, 15, 20 years for some of us. So I'm going to be really focusing on practical takeaways that women can implement prior to conception to calm their nervous system because there is such a big connection between not even personality development, but the nervous system of baby and the nervous system of mom, and they are actually just so connected in that first 5 years of life that mum's nervous system and the way that she responds to things and the way she feels in her body is going to really dictate how that baby's feeling and how safe that child feels, which we can eat all the right foods and we can turn all our lights off at nighttime. But if we actually don't feel safe in our bodies and we're constantly stressed, that's just going to override all those good things that we're doing for ourselves.
For sure. And I think it has, like you said, such a huge impact on those early years. And, setting yourself up beforehand can have a massive impact to make sure that experience is better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so many different things going through my head at the moment. Talking about the toxic environment, what are some of the, I guess, the major examples or things that you see that are coming up, in regards to affecting women's and and our children's health as well?
Awesome. Yeah. So some of the things that are really impacting women's health are actually things that we can't see. And sometimes if we put our blinkers on and we can't see them, it's easy to think that they're not there or they don't actually impact our health. We're very 3D logical humans we are, and we think if we can't see something, then it's just not there. But I mean, just as a brief introduction, I kind of think of things like radiation from our devices, although we can't see them, they're impacting our health just like wind. So, for example, I can look outside and I can't see wind, but I know that there is wind because I can see the trees swaying. So,
Yeah.
the trees are actually having a physical response to that wind, but I just can't see it, but we can feel it. Just like if there's a cool breeze, I get little goosebumps up and down my arms. And so I can't see it, but it's impacting my biology. And that's the exact same way that radiation from our devices work. So we actually can't see it. We can't see energy. We can't see our emotions. We can't see, the 4G coming from our Wi-Fi router, but our body feels it and it's responding to it. And so, and we'll talk more about this. So if this doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. We're really starting to understand that our biology is so intertwined with our environment, and God created this environment that just works in beautiful harmony with our biology. But perhaps all this radiation and the things that we can't see that are easy to ignore that we've introduced into our environment are actually causing a lot of the disharmony inside our biology, that we once thought that was caused by other things that we perhaps can see that are a little bit more easier to manage. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No. And I think it's probably one thing that might make it harder, I guess, for people to understand is because there's so many new things, in technology and devices that we now think help, improve our life, and they make things faster and quicker and we can communicate better. But they're actually adding all these layers on that are, yeah, affecting our health. And because we
Mm-hmm.
physically can't see them, we don't think about them because, yes, it's not this tangible thing that you can see and you're like, oh, maybe that actually is the reason why, yeah, I'm not sleeping well, or, all those sort of things. And I think it's just really important having this conversation because a lot of people aren't aware of it. And it
Mm-hmm.
might feel a bit confronting and, yeah, a little bit sort of like, okay, what do I do about it? How do I sort of change it? And particularly, like I mentioned before, like screens are such a massive part of our lives now, with phones and iPads and that sort of thing. But particularly for, children, they'll probably watch TV before they go to school, and then they go to school and they're on a screen all day, learning and under fluoro lights, and then they come home and
Mm-hmm.
maybe they do their homework on a screen, or there's, a bit more TV time. Like there's just this constant exposure that, even myself, I think about, we didn't really use computers at school. I think we would go to the library and maybe have a couple of classes a week using computers, but it was all otherwise bookwork, and laptops were sort of starting to be brought in, but we didn't use them often. Whereas now my
Mm-hmm.
understanding is it's pretty much all done. There's not much actual, yeah, pen to paper anymore, which, everyone's seeing that as an advancement, but it's, what are the actual repercussions that's having on, yeah, our children particularly, because they're the ones being exposed to this so
Mm-hmm.
often. Mm.
Yeah, I remember taking a course. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. Probably when I was 19, and I was learning about how to manage people's behavior in the workplace. And one of the topics that we were discussing was the light environment. And if you wanted to control how your audience was feeling, you could actually change the light in the environment to help you do that. So, for example, if you were playing an emotional scene from a movie or you were doing a conference on workplace bullying, you would have really dim lighting, warm lighting, and that would actually promote feelings of empathy from the participants. And if you wanted people to be awake and work a really long work day, and be super stimulated, you would put on bright blue LED lighting. And I didn't think of that then at all, the way that I do now.
Yeah.
But learning about light and health, I'm like, okay. I learned about this back then. We just hadn't made the connection between light and perhaps a health detriment instead of optimization.
Mm.
And I mean, children, we wonder why. I mean, children are so stimulated now, they can't sit still. Their attention spans are decreasing now more than ever. It's not even my opinion, that's statistically speaking globally now. And it really can be tied back to not the only reason, but this constant exposure that children are having to this bright blue light from a screen, from TVs. I mean, I think screens, perhaps if I was a child, is the most interesting thing I've ever looked at. And it can become so easily addictive as well. And that's the thing about this light. If you've tried to take an iPad off a toddler, it is like World War III.
Yeah, good luck.
And that's for a reason. That child is so addicted to that device. And what are the complications of that later on in life for the children? We don't even know yet. The
No.
research still needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually really scary sort of thinking about that. Like, yeah, the children in that primary, yeah, even high school age, like, you know, obviously they haven't grown up yet, so we don't have any data on how this is affecting it. And, you know, you're talking about a nervous system, like they're just constantly being stimulated from all these angles. Yeah, like no wonder they're, you know, hyperactive and they're struggling to go to bed, and then they're, you know, restless through the night, and then they're tired in the morning because they haven't slept well. Like, it's just this vicious cycle, isn't it? You know, it just goes round and round. But yeah, super excited to have you come and give some practical tips, because I think that's what so many women and mothers, you know, it's great to learn about this, but it's like, what can I actually do to help to try and, you know, fix this? Because for a lot of people, you know, they probably particularly like with the school and that sort of thing, you can't reduce their screen time exposure. Like, that's just the learning curriculum as it is now. But how can we still incorporate, you know, things to help, but then also keep the normal lifestyle, I guess, of screens in our lives. What are you most looking forward to about the event? And you've mentioned that you came last year, so I was super excited to have you come back again. And talking about a few different things, but what are you looking forward to attending again?
Um, well, I'll be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to lunch, because I definitely am looking forward to that. Um,
Nourishment is very important, you know. It's part of the day, and I think, like a lot of people, I laugh, but they do say they're looking forward to lunch. I'm like, that's a good thing. Like, you know, you want to gather and, you know, bond over food and that sort of thing. So, no, I'm glad to hear that.
yeah. No, I've had a lot of women reach out that attended last year and they're so excited to come back. So actually building a relationship with people and hearing how their children have been going, what they've
Yeah,
implemented, like hearing real life, what worked and what didn't work for different families too, and checking back in and seeing people's progress. I think I'm really excited to be having those conversations with the women attending. A bunch of my friends are coming down. We're going to do a little road trip, so that'll be exciting.
so good.
And yeah.
Yeah, no, very excited. So, the event's on the 8th of November, so coming up shortly. If you'd like to get any more information, head to our Walkie Farm website, go to the events page, and then click on the Discussing Motherhood event. There's a little drop-down bar that says what's included, and if you click on that, it'll give you the event information, the rest of our amazing guest speakers as well, and you can book tickets via that as well. So, thanks for your chat today, Kiera. We're looking forward to having you at the event.
Not a problem. I'll see you in November.
Great. Thank you.